In this video, we're going to take a look at Axis and Allies Stalingrad, and then we'll do a preview of what's different about this iteration of Axis and Allies. This is Legendary Tactics. Axis and Allies Stalingrad has some interesting innovations that have not been present in other games. This is the endpoint of a lot of evolution of this game. I remember playing it back in the 80s, in the first edition, I believe, and they've really made some changes. So here's just a quick scan of the components. We're going to take a look at what's inside the box, and we're going to give you a preview of all that. So first of all, we've got some cards. There are order cards, which dictate the sequence of play. We also have some reinforcement cards for Operation Uranus. And there are some optional rules cards that can be used to track the rules that you're using to vary the gameplay. Now there's the money. Now this is not IPCs in this case. This is RPs, or reinforcement points. There are no factories or anything like that to worry about. We've got the dice there. The brown units are the Russian units. The black units are the German units. There, but we'll take a look. They've got some interesting new units there, which we'll take a look at shortly. Things like rocket launchers, and I like the look of the bombers personally. We have the poker chips that are used for stacking purposes, and then we've got the minor axis powers, which are the yellow units. Not too many of those, and overall not too many units on the board, actually, certainly compared to the old Axis and Allies anyway. And we have two giant battle boards. The first is more of a tactical or operational level board, which features the city of Stalingrad itself. That's where the urban warfare happens. And then we've got a more of a grand strategic board. On this is where the battles in the region are decided. And if need be, you can zoom in on the city of Stalingrad itself when the game dictates that should happen. So kind of an interesting approach that I haven't seen in a lot of other games. Then we have a few counters here. These are some German counters to mark control, to some counters to track supply, and so forth. We've got some counters, I guess you could call them that, which mark the ferries or supply lines. Supply is going to be big in this game, although it's not handled with supply markers. It's more about supply lines. We have some setup cards and some out of supply markers on this counter sheet here. And then we have the famous Axis and Allies battle board. This is where the battles play out, and it's a little bit more drawn out, the battles in this game. They're not decided in a die roll to death kind of scenario. We have some player aids here, as well as a little featurette on other games by Renegade. Then finally we have the rule set. Not as many rules as you might think. The text is a bit dense, but it's well illustrated. I think it'll be a quick game to learn for anyone who's played Axis and Allies before. And then we'll take the game box, we'll throw that on top there, and we will put it back in the shrink wrap, as I like to do anytime I do a reboxing. It just makes sure that the game is dust-free and well preserved for our next play. I recommend you do this as well. Just takes a bit of practice, but I'm sure you can figure it out. It's all in the wrist. Anyway, that is Axis and Allies Stalingrad. And now we'll take a few minutes to learn more about the game itself. Axis and Allies Stalingrad is a mixture of both the familiar and the new. Fans of the game will recognize the dice, the plastic chips, the money, and the battle board. However, this game has some interesting twists. 2 map boards instead of 1, supply lines, terrain, and some new units to make things fresh. I should clarify that I have not played any of the later iterations of Axis and Allies. My experience is limited to the original game, so some of the things that are new to me might be, in fact, old hat to some players. I know that some aspects, like the order cards, which help organize the sequence of play, stacking limits, contested zones, and combat that is drawn out over multiple rounds, were introduced in the D-Day version of A&A. But the 2 boards are certainly new. One of them is the expected regional strategic map, and the other is one that zooms in on the city of Stalingrad, and forces can move between the 2 maps as needed. The stacking limits for this game are 8 units per side with the exception of air units, which can be stacked up to 4 in an airfield space, and don't count against stacking limits otherwise. Also, control of spaces is maintained even if the space is contested, so a battle has to be completely won before the zone changes hands. The money is also slightly different in this one. There are no industrial complexes and the cash is treated as reinforcement point certificates, which come from the control of certain key zones which are marked with a number. The Axis player begins with a certain amount of force on the map, but no reinforcements are provided until the Soviet counteroffensive, which must happen by turn 7. The Allies can spend some of their meager RPCs as soon as they collect them, but most of their reinforcements will come in at the time of the counteroffensive by using Operation Uranus cards. Supply lines are also important, both on the city map where it is delivered by ferry or frozen river, or on the big map where it is delivered by rail or road. Being out of supply hurts you in combat, but it doesn't eliminate anyone outright, as it can do in some other war games. I'm looking at you, Paths of Glory. Also, the terrain, especially the rivers, needs to be taken into account. The Volga River, for example, is a significant obstacle that must be worked around, and the Don River provides a defensive bonus if unfrozen. There are also fortified zones, which provide a defensive bonus, airfield zones, which are the only places air units can land, and ambush sites, where any enemy units that move adjacent do so at their own risk. Finally, some new units. I am sure that there were artillery units in earlier Axis and Allies spin-offs, but I don't remember seeing mechanized infantry, assault guns, nor rocket launchers before. In brief, mechanized infantry can zip around and drop off infantry into Stalingrad itself. The assault guns are great in defending, and the rocket launchers allow long-ranged fire, attacking adjacent zones with impunity. I will be diving into this game in more detail, but as an owner of Axis and Allies First Edition from way back in the 80s, I'm looking forward to giving this one a try to see how the system has evolved over time. We will share our thoughts when we can. This is Legendary Tactics.